Are there advantages to aging? Yes, I am Debbi-Jo Horton, and welcome to Advantages to Aging. Join my guests and I as we discuss aging and what makes for a healthy lifestyle, which results in a quality life. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Advantages to Aging. And today I have with me Jackie Carroll, who's the founder of Mind Immersion. And you will probably do the same thing I did and go like, what is that? I'm curious. So we're going to dive into virtual reality and how you can utilize that in professional and personal development, more in the personal development. And then later on, check out for another episode on how it's used in aging and how it can be used to help in that aging process. So welcome, Jackie. Cannot wait to dive in with you today.
Thank you very much, Debbi-Jo, for having me. I really appreciate, just having to get on a call with you and to have a chat and be on the podcast. So thanks very much for having me.
Oh, you are quite welcome. Now, I know many people are probably going, virtual reality, like what? What is that? What does that have to do with personal development? So why don't we start first by explaining what virtual reality is in the terms that you mean it. And I know sometimes people use it along with MetaVerse, or sometimes they even use it instead of MetaVerse. And so if you can help the listeners to kind of get an understanding of what the differences, if there are any differences between those two things.
Sure. Well, for anybody who doesn't understand what virtual reality is essentially a space that you can step into and immerse yourself in different environments and different gaming. So if people understand what the Xbox is, or they understand what PlayStation is, or even going to the cinema and watching a movie, you immersed in a 2D environment where you have a screen in front of you and you're watching a movie or you're playing a game. And virtual reality is something a little bit different, where you put what I would call goggles or glasses onto your head. So it's almost like, I would say, like big elaborate swimming glasses that you put on your head, and all of a sudden it's like you're being teleported into a 3D world where your film or your gaming becomes the world that you're actually in, where you can turn around, you can look up, you can look down, and you can see the floor below you, you can see the sky above you. Or if you look around, then you see behind you as if you were, in an actual world. So it's like almost teleporting yourself into a virtual space, which is hence why we call it virtual reality, because our mind thinks it is a reality as such. However, it's virtual. So it's a made up environment. Now, it can be shot in 360, but it's not in our actual space, it's in our virtual world. And I suppose the difference, if people were wondering, well, what's metaverse and what's virtual reality and how do the two kind of mix together, it's very, very interesting, because a lot of metaverse is going to be a very interesting space coming down the line, because essentially what that is going to be is a 3.0 version of the World Wide Web. So if you can imagine going on to onto your www and searching, like, let's say you want to go online shopping as an example, online shopping, and you're like, oh, this is great, okay, it's all done in 2D. Where, if you're stepping into the metaverse is going to essentially become a 3D environment that you can go shopping, or you can experience whatever it is that you're stepping into in that space. And people can move from different platforms, like you can go from one website to another. In the metaverse, you're going to be able to go from one virtual platform into another. Companies are going to have, or they're setting up different metaverse spaces where they can have different branding and stuff like that within this metaverse environment. And all it really is the World Wide Web becoming virtual. So it's becoming more immersive, where people can have, amazing experiences on different platforms. So I hope that has made sense.
It does. And I know some people, if they've hung in, are saying, okay, that's kind of interesting. Not sure if I like it
Mm,
because if you're like me, I love shopping online because I can go in, order what I want, and get the heck out and not have to actually go into a store because I don't enjoy shopping.
mhm.
But what does that have to do with personal development? Uh, before we lose anybody, let's figure out how we can be utilizing those two kind of cool, maybe a little creepy, but definitely innovative ways of developing ourselves personally.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yes. So, in order to understand how this would work in the personal development space, there's a couple of ways. And number one is meditation. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd love to go and meditate, but my house is very noisy. I've got lots of dogs, cats, kids, or just a lot going on. I'm living in a very, busy building, and I just can't seem to get my Zen on. How do I do that?" And this is the beauty about virtual reality, or how the metaverse, if you're going into a well-being center within the metaverse, you can actually step into a virtual space and go into a virtual retreat where you can do different types of meditation, and you can have guided meditation, unguided meditation. And the beauty about this is you can pick where you want to go. So if you decide, well, I'd love to go and do a meditation by the sea, it's like having this, genie in a bottle saying, well, I wish to have a meditation on the sea, and boom, you're by the sea. Or you can go and, you can be on the tops of Machu Picchu if you wanted to, or if you wanted to go to Europe, you can go meditating in Europe somewhere, in the forest somewhere, just any place exotic. You can actually pick your environment that you would like to go and discover and do your meditation. Now, a lot of people say, well, okay, wouldn't you meditate with your eyes closed? And yes, of course you can, but it's initially stepping into that environment. So with virtual reality meditation, you've got two types of meditation. You've got your open eye meditation, and then you have your closed eye meditation. So virtual reality is absolutely beautiful for training us on open eye meditation. And there's a whole other aspect to that where it helps with focus and concentration and just really getting a lot of stuff done whilst calming ourselves and de-stressing. So that's the beauty about open eye meditation. You can still go into a virtual space and do closed eye meditation. And the beauty of that is, if you change your environment, your energy changes. So even though you're going to go in essentially and close your eyes anyway, you're still going in and you're removing yourself from your hectic environment that you're in right now with your pinging of your messages and your emails. You're closing off all of those senses by putting your virtual reality headset on. You're stepping into your virtual space. You know that you're by the sea, or you're by a babbling brook, or wherever it is that you want to be, and you can still hear the beautiful sounds, but you're completely cut off from the hecticness that is around you. So even though you close your eyes and you're still going, it still feels like you could be in an environment that is not your home office or your office space or wherever it is that you have. So that's the beauty about it. And also, one of the things that we do is we help people experience different things. So if, let's say, people have a goal list, or they have a vision board, and they want to be able to experience what it would be like to have a goal specifically that they're working towards achieved. How would that feel? If we're wanting to reach a specific goal, what drives us to do what needs to get done is the feeling of that goal already achieved. Now, how do we do that? How do we get into that if we've never achieved the goal before? How do we know what that feeling is? And in virtual reality, you can step into that space and actually feel what it feels like before you attain the goal to actually have the goal achieved. And that's the beauty about virtual reality. And this is how we can incorporate it into personal development and into well-being, is using the meditation environments and the visualization experiences and bringing that to us in the forefront of our mind. So that's the
And
beauty of it.
and that is so cool. When
Mm,
we talked about that, I was like, oh my goodness, like you talk about, becoming a best version of yourself. And when you write down what that would be like, sometimes it's really hard to feel those feelings because you've never been
mm,
there before.
yeah.
But if you can step into a virtual reality where you are all of those things, the feelings will bubble up and help to drive you to make that your actual reality, not a virtual one. So I find
Right.
so many things that are kind of like leading us in that direction. I mean, if you think back even a decade ago, right, it was about reading and then taking what you read in your personal development and either creating a vision board or a vision statement. And then probably, I don't know, at least 5 years ago, they started where you could create mind movies, which was basically taking your vision board and be piecing it together so it becomes a movie. And to me, this is like the next in the progression of taking that mind movie and making it a virtual reality that you can step into anytime you are starting to feel like, oh, do I really want to make that phone call? Do I really want to do those crunches? Do I really want to eat, all those clean things to make myself healthy? I just see this really being a huge tool that we can use in all of those things, not just having to pick one of those things.
Yeah.
If you're looking to help keep your brain healthy, Neura's EHT brain formula's got you covered. It was developed after 20 years of research by Dr. Jeffrey Stock, a Princeton University professor. EHT is decaffeinated. It focuses on B vitamins to sustain and increase energy. It also is BSCG certified, and it really helps to keep the neuronal connections in your brain healthy, helping you with focus and clarity, memory and recall, and really helping to rebuild those neuronal connections that can break down with age or injury. Now back to the show.
Let's talk a little bit about how people are using it for wellness.
Okay. Well, again, the wellness aspect is very much, with the meditation, like down the line, the headsets are going to be able to pair with the likes of the Apple Watches or the Fitbits and stuff like that, where you can actually see, you're doing different types of meditation. And I know specifically on the Fitbit, I'm not 100% sure on the Apple Watch, but I know, like, as an example, on the Fitbit, you can actually track your mindfulness on your fitness app. So the virtual reality headsets are going to be able to pair with those. So you'll have a dashboard and you can actually, it'll be a holistic view of your well-being. So how many meditations did you do that day? How did you fare in terms of, were you able to get your heart rate down? What is your stress level like? And you can really kind of monitor your well-being, through your app. And I think with all of the pairing, and especially with the metaverse coming down the line, because all these things have to be integrated and we're going to have to move, very seamlessly from one environment to another and from one platform to another, it's going to be a great way for people to have, like I said, a real holistic overview of where they're at mentally and where not. And especially if you're going down the line in terms of the metaverse and you're going into a metaverse well-being environment, you could have like online therapists or online meditation gurus, or you could have, just a whole lot of different people that you could get in touch with quite easily in this space. But what would be really beautiful, if, let's say, I am living in Ireland at the moment, and I hear that there is an amazing doctor or amazing therapist that is in the States, and I would love to have a one-to-one session with them. And, obviously, yes, of course, Zoom is great and Google Meets is great, but there's nothing beats going into an actual environment and immersing yourself in that environment with the person. So it feels like you're one-to-one with them, but you're in two different locations in the world. And this is the beauty about what virtual reality and the metaverse is going to be able to do, is we can actually meet people as if we're in person, but be in two separate parts of the world and have a therapy session, or something like that, or even a counseling session, and be with the best of the best. So that's another thing that is coming down the line with the virtual events online, and especially in the well-being space. And I'm very excited to see more and more of that coming down the line.
Yes, I'm very excited about that as well, because I know oftentimes it can come with aging, or it can come just out of the blue, one thinks, where you suddenly have some kind of an illness where the best person you should see is in a different country or is on the other side of the country. And You're not in a physical space where you can go to see that person. So being able to see them virtually, being able to experience as if you were there is so exciting to me, but not just in the wellness, but like my mother will not travel anymore. She will not get in an
Okay.
airplane. She's had a bad experience, but there's still so many places that she would love to go see. Wouldn't
Mm,
that be amazing to actually step into that virtual reality and not just watch a movie about the country, but be able to experience it that way? So,
yeah.
listeners, I hope that this has really sparked your imagination and you can come up with all kinds of different ways that you'd be able to put this into effect in your personal development or use it on your wellness journey. So I challenge you to come up with at least one thing you're going to do in the next 48 to 72 hours that will start to spark your interest in where this field is going. I want to thank Jackie Carroll for all of her insights, and I am really looking forward to not only speaking with you again soon, but also seeing where this whole new field really takes us.
Thanks, Debbi-Jo, for having me.
Do you think one of the biggest advantages to aging is all the knowledge we gain along the way? Me too. What did you learn today? Share with me in my Facebook group with the same name as this podcast, Advantages to Aging. Now hit subscribe so you don't miss all the tips to come in future episodes.